Well, I continue to have technology issues trying to do this from my phone. However, when I do it from the laptop, which I'm doing now, I tend to run into audio problems. So I'm going to try to speak more loudly and hope that the microphone picks everything up. I did this before and I'm redoing it because my phone has not been working very well. But what I'm talking about today is Agenda 2030. You might have heard of it. It is the UN's General Assembly. It's their 70th session that took place October 21st in 2015. They have these quadrennial appointments where they meet and discuss a variety of things. I mean, it's the UN, so really what they're talking about is restructuring the world, and that's right there. You can see 70/1, Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And so this was in 2015, being that they're quadrennial meetings. The next was held in 2019. So a global structure meeting to determine world policy. Can you think of anything that reshaped the world that occurred thereabouts 2019 or shortly thereafter? So I've got one 2015, 2019 they met, 2023, and 2027 are their upcoming meetings. To sum it up, I think this point here is a pretty good summary of this document. We resolve between now and 2030 to end poverty and hunger everywhere, to combat inequalities within and among countries, to build peaceful, just, and inclusive societies, to protect human rights and promote gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls, and to ensure the lasting protection of the planet and its natural resources. We resolve also to create conditions for sustainable, inclusive, and sustained economic growth, shared prosperity, and decent work for all, taking into account different levels of national development and capacities. All right, so that's pretty much it. They want to save the world and empower women, basically. All countries and all stakeholders acting in a collaborative partnership will implement this plan. We are resolved to free the human race from the tyranny of poverty and want to heal and secure our planet, they say. So to me, that sounds like projection. Projection meaning when you have a trait and you project that trait onto a target, project that onto something else. It's a way to deflect. So them calling poverty tyranny is a way to kind of absolve themselves of whatever measures that they need to take, which will be tyrannical by their own admission, in order to save the planet. So in calling poverty tyrannical, that justifies whatever movements they need to initiate to address that. Further down, they meaning the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which we'll get to, they seek to realize the human rights of all and to achieve gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls. They are integrated and indivisible and balance the three dimensions of sustainable development: the economic, social, and environmental. So, what do we know looking at previous documents like the NSSM 200? Why do they have such a focus on the empowerment of all women and girls? Is it because they care so much about the empowerment of women and girls? No, we know from looking at those previous documents that it's about population control. The more we empower women, the more the population decreases. And I'm not saying women shouldn't be free. I'm saying that what they're telling impressionable and naive women, not those of you who are with it, but naive women, that they're in a system of patriarchal control. Therefore, here's how to get out of that. Reproduction and motherhood is patriarchal control. That means you're weak. So you need to you got to get away from that. Family planning, that's their word for abortion, that makes you empowered. That makes you strong. That's women's empowerment. So they facilitate this family planning movement all about depopulation. What do you think they want to do by eliminating meat? And this is right out of the World Economic Forum. Bill Gates, these leaders in these globalist organizations saying that we can't have meat anymore. Why is that? Well, they're going to have soy-based meat. Well, what does soy do? It produces more estrogen. So they're trying to feminize the world because a feminized world is just easier to control. That's what they're doing. What do you think the toxic masculinity movement is all about? It's all to eradicate masculinity because masculinity poses the greatest threat to a subservient population. That's just the way it works. I'm sorry. Well, at least according to them. Really not my words, it's theirs. We are determined to end poverty and hunger by depopulation. They don't say by depopulation. I added that part in. I'll read what they say word for word. We're determined to end poverty and hunger in all their forms and dimensions and to ensure that all human beings can fulfill their potential in dignity and equality and in a healthy environment, i.e., a hyper-sanitized welfare state is what we're trying to achieve here. As far as the planet goes, we are determined to protect the planet from degradation, including through sustainable consumption and production, sustainably managing its natural resources and taking urgent action on climate change so that it can support the needs of the present and future generations. In other words, we'll control all the food, all the fuel, and all the products. That's sustainable consumption. Bread lines are sustainable consumption. Prosperity. We're determined to ensure that all human beings can enjoy prosperous and fulfilling lives and that economic, social, and technological progress occurs in harmony with nature. I'm going to come back to that. Peace. We are determined to foster peaceful, just, and inclusive societies which are free from fear and violence. There can be no sustainable development without peace and no peace without sustainable development. Peace from fear and violence. Who is violent? Nationalists. Who are terrorists now? Domestic terrorism. The movement now is on domestic terrorism. You can see how right now in our nation, they're shifting any focus from external terrorism to domestic terrorism. And who are the domestic terrorists? It's those dirty nationalist people, those Trump supporters, those people who are saying that this is lockdowns are tyranny and we need more freedom. Those are terrorists. So that's, you read between the lines. They're looking for peace and safety from domestic terrorists. Moving back to that previous statement, they're looking for prosperous and fulfilling lives and that economic, social, and technological progress occurs in harmony with nature. Interesting phrasing there, I think. Have you heard of the Georgia Guidestones before? I'll show you a picture of what the Guidestones are. It's this occult-looking monument. It looks occult because it is occult. This is I'll read a brief description. The Georgia Guidestones are a granite monument erected in 1980 in Elbert County, Georgia, in the United States. A set of 10 guidelines is inscribed on the structure in 8 modern languages and shorter messages inscribed at the top of the structure in 4 ancient language scripts. These language scripts are ancient Babylonian, ancient Egyptian, Sanskrit, and classical Greek. If you know anything about the occult, you know that ancient Babylonian and Egyptian are heavy focuses of the occult. And that's why they're on there. And this will come clear when you read what the Guidestones actually are. Furthermore, a capstone lies on the top of the 5 slabs, which are astronomically aligned. They're aligned with the solstices and key astrological points. The anonymity of the Guidestones authors and their apparent advocacy of population control, eugenics, and internationalism have made them an object of controversy. Yeah. A man using the pseudonym R.C. Christian approached the Elberton Granite Finishing Company on behalf of a small group of loyal Americans and commissioned the structure. So, and this is on the structure itself. It's carved. Author R.C. Christian sponsors a small group of Americans who seek the age of reason. So completely anonymous. Did it under a fake name. This is like occult 10 commandments. The 10 commandments of this occult structure are these. Maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. What does that sound like? Technological progress occurs in harmony with nature. That's from Agenda 2030. And here we say in perpetual balance with nature. What else do we know about Agenda 2030? Well, it's a kind of an offshoot of the UN plan for global depopulation, which took place in 1974, where they're saying there's too many people. So this very first step here, Maintain humanity under 500 million. Well, if we have around 7 billion, we're going to have to kill off a hell of a lot of people to get there. And that's what, when you look at these high-ranking, notable, very extraordinarily powerful people who are staunch eugenicists, this is what they advocate for. And they always seem to be these nature lovers. Who else are nature lovers? Druids. The very people who are obsessed with depopulation. These people dressed in priestly cloaks and robes, performing human sacrifices in effigy in front of an ancient Canaanite deity amongst the redwoods in California. Those are the people that lead us. Those are the ones that are wanting perpetual balance with nature, who want to depopulate. The second tenet of the Georgia Guidestones is guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. What does that mean? Well, that's eugenics, improving fitness and diversity. We're going to breed out the undesirables. Unite humanity with a living new language. Again, the occult has a heavy focus on ancient Babylon. They're well versed in scriptural historicity, and they want to reinstitute Babel. The Tower of Babel was an occult structure, and what happened there was God spread out the languages and confused the people. Number 3, unite humanity with a living new language. They want to reverse that because they're occultists. 4, rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. Faith and tradition, what is that? Well, in this Western culture, that means Christianity, because faith would be Christianity. The tradition is also Christian tradition. Get rid of that. Protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. Number 5. Well, by whose standard of morality? Because right now, fair and just means if the mob says this person has to pay because he violated some kind of new social norm that is being propagated by media, social media, and idiotic Hollywood, we're gonna cut him in half and put his head on a pike. That's our justice. So some of this stuff sounds good, is not good. Protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. By whose standard? Number 6, let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. So globalism. 7, avoid petty laws and useless officials. That sounds good, but again, by what standard? Who's petty and who's useless? Probably the people that would vote somewhere in line with the way I would. Those are going to be determined to be useless, and they'll be done away with. 8, balance personal rights with social duties. Again, so here, that just means forget about your personal rights. This is about you're going to be social. You're going to have a social duty. You have a responsibility to society rather than individualistic ambitions. Number 9, prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. And whose definition? Right now, we're in a 1984 Orwellian scenario where truth and love are flipped upside down and they've been redefined. So, again, something that sounds good after you redefine it, but that really isn't. And number 10, be not a cancer on the earth. Leave room for nature. Leave room for nature. The only part there that they mentioned twice, leave room for nature. Again, Agenda 2030, we're determined to ensure that all human beings can enjoy prosperous, blah, blah, blah. Technological progress occurs in harmony with nature. And that's not the only portion of the agenda that is mentioned there. In fact, in all these UN and globalist documents, you're going to see the same sentiments echoing throughout it, in harmony with nature. So, bringing the Georgia Guidestones into it, just because if you've ever had any inkling about, well, where the hell did these things come from, and what do they mean? If you've ever heard of them, they're pretty mysterious. I'll give you one guess, even though it's apparently this RC Christian and a group of patriotic Americans that are just seeking to lead the way into the age of reason. I'll give you one guess who that really was, who that might be. What kind of a group do you suppose tries to implement things like that? Druids and the people involved in the highest echelons of control are into the occult. That's kind of concerning. And that's true too. A lot of this was made known in the WikiLeaks too. If you've ever looked into any of that, a lot of like John Podesta, Hillary Clinton, the Bushes, um, just to name a few. I believe Obama as well, but that was a little bit more heavily obscured. John Kerry, all occultists, and it's not a coincidence. So I already kind of went over the premise of it. We envisage a world of universal respect for human rights and human dignity, the rule of law, justice, equality, and non-discrimination, a respect for race, ethnicity, and cultural diversity, and of equal opportunity, permitting the full realization of human potential and contributing to shared prosperity. A world which invests in its children and in which every child grows up free from violence and exploitation. A world in which every woman and girl enjoys full gender equality and all legal, social, and economic barriers to their empowerment have been removed. A just, equitable, tolerant, open, and socially inclusive world in which the needs of the most vulnerable are met. All right, so SJW motivations here, times a billion. That's where a lot of this stuff comes from. So all this SJW stuff, the social justice warrior movements, are motivated at the highest of echelons. Our world today, gender inequality remains a key challenge. Climate change is one of the greatest challenges of our time, it says. Reproductive health. The progress has been uneven, particularly in Africa, least developed countries, landlocked developing countries, and small island developing states, and some of the Millennium Development Goals remain off track, in particular those related to maternal, newborn, and child health, and to reproductive health. All right, so those are the areas of focus that they're really clamping down on in Agenda 2030. Africa, least developed countries, landlocked developing countries, and small island developing states. This comes up over and over again throughout this document because they've been lagging behind the most, really, in responding to the population crisis that we're told we're in. So they want to really focus on newborn and child health and to reproductive health. Well, I thought the focus was on decreasing fertility, as they put it, decreasing the population. Why would they want to enhance newborn health and reproductive health? Well, they don't. This is doublespeak. This is them saying we need to increase the rate of mortality. Just take whatever they say and twist it to the opposite. When it sounds like there's an apparent contradiction, like we need to lower the population significantly. Oh yeah, we also need to ensure that children live longer, decrease infant mortality, make old people live long. Well, which is it? It's the one that they focus on putting billions of dollars into and endless hours of research. Depopulation, that's which one it is. The systematic mainstreaming of a gender perspective in the implementation of the agenda is crucial. So the most important things are these. The planet is on fire. It's going to end because of climate change. Everyone's going to die because of climate change. Starvation, everyone's going to starve to death. Terrorism, the whole world is going to blow up in a nuclear holocaust. Death and destruction everywhere. Oh yeah, and women's empowerment. Interesting that this equality factors in so strongly amongst all these other existential threats to our existence. Another point of the agenda is to promote physical and mental health and well-being. To extend life expectancy for all, we must achieve universal health coverage and access to quality health care. No one must be left behind. We commit to accelerating progress made to date in reducing newborn, child, and maternal mortality. Yeah, okay. By ending all such preventable deaths before 2030, we're committed to ensuring universal access to sexual and reproductive health care services, including for family planning. Another contradiction, family planning means abortion. So again, which is it? Ebola and other communicable diseases and epidemics, also a strong area of focus for them. We will seek to build a strong economic foundations for all our countries. Sustained, inclusive, and sustainable development growth is essential for prosperity. This will only be possible if wealth is shared and income inequality is addressed. So there's your global socialist agenda, equal amounts of poverty for all. We commit to making fundamental changes, blah, blah, blah. Governments, international organizations, and business sector and other non-state actors and individuals must contribute to changing unsustainable consumption and production patterns, including through the mobilization from all sources of financial and technical assistance to strengthen developing countries' scientific, technological, and innovative capacities to move towards more sustainable patterns of consumption and production. So you eat too much. We've got unsustainable consumption. We need to control how much people consume and how much is produced. So less freedom is a good way to summarize that. We also recognize that internal migration is a multidimensional reality of major relevance for the development of countries of origin, transit, and destination, which requires coherent and comprehensive responses. We'll cooperate internationally, to ensure safe, orderly, and regular migration involving full respect for human rights and the humane treatment of migrants, regardless of migration status. So open borders. We need to promulgate migration as much as humanly possible, because that's very important. We recognize that there are different approaches, visions, models, and tools available to each country in accordance with its national circumstances and priorities to achieve sustainable development, and we reaffirm that planet Earth and its ecosystems are a common home and that Mother Earth is a common expression in a number of countries and regions. Kind of Georgia Guidestones type talk there. The sustainable development goals here that they list, I'll just go through, kind of summarize them. Goal 1 is end poverty. Goal 2, end hunger. Goal 3, ensure healthy lives. Goal 4, quality education. Goal 5, gender equality. Goal 6, water and sanitation. Goal 7, energy. 8, productive employment. 9, infrastructure. 10, reduce inequality. Some of what they talk about with infrastructure is international infrastructure. That's to promote the facilitation of open migration. Goal 9, infrastructure. Goal 10, reduce inequality. 11, a focus on human settlements. 12, sustainable consumption, which means red lines. 13, climate change. 14, oceans. 15, manage forests and combat desertification. 16, access to justice. 17, strengthen the means and implementation, revitalize a global partnership for sustainable development. So that's it in a nutshell. And again, all sounds very good until you look at it in closer detail. 2A, increase investment, including through enhanced international cooperation in rural infrastructure, agricultural research and extension services, technology development, and plant and livestock gene banks. All right, so is this why we're taking ownership? Notable eugenicists, Bill Gates and Ted Turner, the largest farmland owners in America, saying you're not going to eat meat anymore. We're going to control the food. And now they're saying they're going to take control of the development of plant and livestock gene banks. So we're going to control the food, and it's going to all be genetically modified. It's all GMOs from here on out. And of course, vaccines for all mentioned as well. We can't have a global plan without the implementation of vaccination that is widespread. By 2030, ensure that all learners acquire the knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development. So, taking that piece alone, ensure that we are indoctrinating people into this sustainable development agenda, including, among others, through education for sustainable development and sustainable lifestyles, human rights, gender equality, promotion of a culture of peace and nonviolence, global citizenship, and appreciation of cultural diversity and of culture's contribution to sustainable development. So a lot of propaganda, making sure that that propaganda is being disseminated. And here they say flat out, ensure equal opportunity and reduce inequalities of outcome. Most people will at least say we want to reduce inequalities of opportunity, make sure everyone's got the same opportunity. Here they're coming right out and saying reduce inequalities of outcome. So if you've got this person here who does nothing and contributes nothing, and I don't know, say in this scenario he's a thief. He just steals from people. That's what he does for a living. He's a scavenger and he takes. And this person has done everything to start from the ground up, innovative, gives back to society, is motivated to excel. So this person is up here, has come out on top because of all those qualities, and this person is down here in a state of poverty because of the decisions he's making. We need to make sure that this person is down to this level where this guy is, because it's unfair that they have unequal outcomes, which is ridiculous. Facilitate orderly, safe, regular, and responsible migration. So we're facilitating migration. And remember, they specified before, regardless of migration status. So facilitate it whether it's legal or illegal. By 2030, ensure that people everywhere have the relevant information and awareness for sustainable development and lifestyles in harmony with nature. Sounds pretty Guidestone-y. Integrate climate change measures into national policies. Provide legal identity for all, including birth registration. Got to make sure that people are being appropriately tracked. Well, here's where they're saying we're going to meet every 4 years under the auspices of the General Assembly. The high-level political forum will provide high-level political guidance for the agenda and its implementation, identify progress and emerging challenges, and mobilize further actions to accelerate implementation. They met in 2015. The next level political forum under the auspices of General Assembly will be held in 2019, which it was. And this is another document that we'll go through in a moment, which is kind of troubling, but interesting that just the timing of some of this stuff. So they had one in 2019 and have another one in 2023. So we'll see what they have planned for us in 2023. All of these are just updates on their overarching agenda. As I read through these, there's a lot of kind of repeat stuff. But that's Agenda 2030 in a nutshell.